Hi, I'm Steve Schweitzer. When I was a kid, I was lucky enough to have parents who subscribed to National Geographic. It was my passport to the world, and when I got a camera, I dreamed of one day becoming a National Geographic photographer. Today, via Skype, I caught up with a gentleman named Steve Winter. As a kid in South Bend, he shared my dream, but he made it a reality, traveling the world covering animals and specializing in big cats.
My dad gave me my first camera when I was 7. It was like Kodak Instamatic. And, I decided when I was 8 years old I wanted to be a photographer for National Geographic. But never in a million years did I ever think I would do animals, because I dreamt of walking those dusty roads and meeting those interesting people that I saw on the pages of National Geographic.
He dropped out of IU, traveled the world with his camera, working in advertising and fashion, and eventually he landed a job as an assistant to a National Geographic photographer. That's what led to his first assignment for the magazine. But it was about birds, not cats. He was living in a little shack, all alone in the cloud forest of Guatemala. It was a scary place because loggers had recently murdered other outsiders.
And I would walk up the mountain at the end of the day, and I'd get goosebumps, and the hair in the back of my head would stand up, and I'd be looking around. You're scared when you're all by yourself and you don't know what you're doing. And one night I'm all alone reading my book, and I hear the stairs creaking. Then I hear the floorboards creaking, and I figure I am a dead man because I'd seen guys with guns. But then I hear scratching under the door and then sniffing. And then all the hair on my whole body stood up. And I whacked my machete on the side of the bed just to make noise. And there was silence. Then I whistled. And I heard front paws, back paws going down the stairs.
He was terrified, and he radioed the naturalist back in town.
All I heard was a bunch of laughing when I told him in my broken Spanish what had happened. He said, "Steve, don't worry, it's just a black panther." And I always say that's the night that big cats chose me, because I knew nothing about big cats.
Not only is Steve a great photographer, he's a wonderful storyteller. Taking his pictures and stories around the world for National Geographic is now one of his greatest passions.
I was the first one to sell out the Sydney Opera House, or Big Cats did, because they weren't coming to see me, they were coming to see Nat Geo and Big Cats. If you're wondering about whether you want to buy a ticket to this, ask yourself, have you ever wanted to be a National Geographic magazine photographer? If the answer is yes, or you ever even thought about it, that's what my show is about.
You can check National Geographic's website to see if Steve is bringing his presentation to a venue near you. It's called On the Trail of the Big Cats. Go to events.nationalgeographic.com and click on the Talks tab. Steve's presentations are filled with wild stories, and he reveals some of the secrets behind his most memorable shots. For example, he often isn't behind the camera when the shutter clicks. He uses what's called camera traps. They're carefully placed in locations where he expects the big cats to visit. The trap senses the cat's movement and snaps the picture. Using this motorized robot car also resulted in some unbelievable pictures.
It had a still camera on it, because I always said I'd like to get a picture looking up at a tiger, but the only way I could do that is if I was in a tiger's mouth, and then I'd be dead. You know who's interacting? The female. The males that were big and like Smasher, who would smash my camera traps, they ran away.
But capturing those fantastic pictures isn't always so safe.
Oh, God. Yeah, that was the most scared I've ever been in my life.
He's talking about photographing from the back of an elephant. He'd put a camera on a bamboo pole to capture some low-angle images.
It turns out that rhinos don't like cameras on bamboo poles. Rhinos have teeth this big. And the rhino came after us, and it chased us. The elephant did a 180. The guard lost his gun. And we're like being on horseback galloping across the field, but on an elephant, with the rhino jumping up at the guard who's jamming the bamboo pole. The rhino bites the elephant on the left-hand side. The elephant goes right. I fly out of the seat. My fingertips just grabbed a hold of it, and that's the most scared I've ever been in my life.
The elephant was fine. And in spite of that, he still loves working for National Geographic. What's the best thing about working for National Geo?
It's to realize your dream and to be able to show the incredible world in which we live to the readers of National Geographic. You know, if we can save big cats, we can help save ourselves. So trying to tell these stories.
For Great Day TV, I'm Steve Schweitzer.